Hey guys, welcome to the Powhatan classroom. I just want to say hello to you guys. I miss you, and we will definitely get through this together. So this is your PowerPoint all about braces. This is your typical bracket with where the wire goes. It's called the slot, the wire slot. It's either going to be 18 gauge or 22 gauge. You have your 4 tie wings. You have your identification dot, and then right here marks the long axis of the tooth. Then you have the same type of bracket, but this one has a tie wing on the distal. And for this one, it's for elastics, when you have to wrap the elastic and join it with another tooth for tooth movement. And we'll get into that later with a separate video about tooth movement. The back of the bracket has a mesh pad, and that's so the bonding agent, the glue, can squish in there and have a mechanical bond on it, a mechanical hold, and stick to the sealant and the tooth better versus a smooth surface which can easily come off. There are so many different types of brackets. You got your metal, your ceramic. The wire could be metal, or it could have a Teflon coating over it. These are the elastic ties that hold the wire into that slot. And each wire has a little color or identification mark on it so that you line it up with the midline. And so once we go through this video, we're going to go through each wire sequence. Types of braces: you have your DAMON brackets that have a door that slides down, and there's a special plier that slides the door up and down. So you notice there's no ties holding the wire in because the door closes it and holds the wire in. You have Invisalign, which are no brackets, no wires. And we're going to do a separate video for that because there are several steps in doing Invisalign. Here you have the lingual braces that attach to the inside of the teeth, the lingual surface towards the tongue. And those are very uncomfortable because, as you can imagine, when you first get braces, it takes about a week to get used to them because all of this rough hardware irritates the inside of your mouth. And just like a ring will cause a callus here from rubbing against it, you get used to it. And the mouth toughens up, and then after a week, your tissue is tougher and able to handle it. Direct bonding is when you're taking the bracket on a bracket holder and placing it directly on the tooth. Indirect bonding is when it's in one of these indirect bonding trays and you put the glue on the back of the bracket, you put the sealant on the tooth, and when they come together, you're indirectly placing it with the trays. Steps for your bonding: the first thing you do, clean the teeth. When you're using the Prophy paste, make sure it is fluoride free. This is one time you do not want fluoride because the fluoride protects the tooth from acid. And in the upcoming steps, you're going to want ETCH, which is 38% phosphoric acid, to penetrate the enamel and create those microscopic keyholes in the enamel to accept the sealant, to lock in, and then be able to accept the bracket with the glue on it. So clean the teeth with your Prophy, rinse, make sure you suction, place the cheek retractors in, dry the teeth off, then place your ETCH on a dry enamel surface. And you want to etch each tooth for 30 seconds. Suction the ETCH off. Don't just rinse it off and have it go down the patient's mouth into the throat, because it's going to irritate the tissue, and it's also going to taste very bitter, and they could choke and swallow it, and we don't want that to happen. So suction your etch off the teeth, rinse, dry, and use a tooth dryer if that's what your office is going to be doing next year in your clinical sites. Once you dry the tooth completely, you'll notice wherever you put that etch is going to be a white chalky area, and that's good, that's what you want. Then you're going to paint or place the sealant on the tooth and light each tooth for 10 seconds. You want that sealant to go into the keyholes, and then when you light it up, it's going to harden. Then you're ready to place your braces either by direct bonding or indirect bonding. With the coronal polish, there's different flavors to make it fun for the patient, and then you have your fine, medium, and coarse. Rinse off the prophy paste, dry the teeth off. When you're placing your etch in, make sure you're placing it only where the brackets are going to go. You don't want to just put it on there sloppy and have it go up on the gums. This is acid. It's going to irritate the gums. It's going to just add more uncomfortable situation for the patient. Then you want to suction off the etch. Rinse off the teeth again. Dry the teeth. And this is your tooth dryer. It looks just like a hair dryer, but it has a really narrow tip on it to dry each tooth. You want to get those teeth as dry as possible. Seal it with your sealant. It's just like painting your nails with clear nail polish. And then you want to cure each tooth for 10 seconds with your curing light, making sure you're looking through this amber glass so that you're not looking directly at that bright light. And then you're going to place your brackets on there. The orthodontist will do the detailed placement, and then once they're done placing the bracket where they want, you're going to cure it for the final set. Now, when you put the bonding paste on the back of the bracket, some's going to come out, and we call that flash. You're going to take an Explorer or a U1530 scaler and clean up around that. You want to make sure the glue doesn't go up under this tie wing and keep it from being able to put an elastic tie around it. Do your final curing. Place your wires. A lot of patients look and say, why is this looking this way? Well, you're placing the bracket in the center of each tooth. So if this tooth is pointed this way, the bracket's going to point that way. The wire is what pulls the teeth into a position. The wire is shaped like an arch and a mouth should be shaped. So it's going to go back to that original shape, pulling the tooth in line with everything else. And then you have your colorful options. Typically around Christmas, you'll have people do the red and green or their favorite basketball team colors. DAMON brackets, I added this in here because there's quite a few students I've seen with this type of braces. But this is a closer up version of it where the door comes down and then slides back up. Over here you see the identification mark. And so it points towards the gingiva. So as soon as you see these, you know where it's going to go. So if this was up here, you'd know to flip the bracket around. Stainless steel ligature ties. This one's Teflon coated, and it goes around to tie the wire into the bracket so it doesn't just come out of the bracket slot, it's tied in there. Brushing instructions. Just like this television, if I run my finger along here, you're going to see dust. Plaque will collect on top of the braces. So it's very important that the patient brushes on top, underneath, and there's a lot of interdental toothbrushes that'll get in between because you can't just floss you have to go underneath and floss, and we're going to do a separate video for that too. Handling emergencies. So if you show the patient ahead of time, it's an example of what might happen. If you don't explain this, then something happens, it sounds like you're just making excuses. So you want to make sure you tell your parents, you know what, every once in a while there's going to be what we call a pokey wire, and a simple eraser on a pencil can push that back down so it doesn't grab the lip and cut them up. And then handling emergencies also, the wax is the biggest thing. If your orthodontist gives you wax and you use it all up and it's a Saturday or Sunday and you can't get back in the office, go to a CVS, go to a Walmart. They have what's called swimmer's ear, and it's a big plug of wax, and you just take it off, roll it up, and stick it on there. Okay?